Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Brainwash to be Broke, the show where we expose all the lies, all the beliefs, different types of scripts that we've been taught since our young age, since we've been born, and what is truly possible as a human when we decide to actually do the thing, become the type of person. So, what is truly possible as a human? Because we, as a humans, we are very, very powerful species, and it's just insane what we are capable of. So today we are here with another amazing guest. His name is Alex. We had a little bit of conversation before we jump into this interview. So to just give you guys a little bit of context about him, but I'll let him to also like share a little bit more about himself. So he is a behavioral performance coach, founder of 3060 Coaching, and co-founder of ReBrand Wellness, who helps people ditch motivation myths and build the systems and identity needed for real lasting changes. So I'm super stoked to have him here. And today episode is going to be a lot about mindset and like the journey that he went through. And we will be talking a lot about those type of like limiting beliefs probably and so on. So I'm really stoked to have him here. And we will have about like as usual 60 minutes conversation and so on. But for those who don't know you, Alex, can you give us a little bit about you? Like, what is the claim to fame for you, if you will?
Yeah, definitely. Hello, everybody. Adam, thank you for the introduction here. Like you said, I'm also very excited to be here. I think we're going to have a great conversation today. But a little bit of a background. I'll kind of keep it short. But the claim to fame slash my passion slash what I believe that has helped get me to where I'm at today, and just at the mindset stage, not at the external stage at any means. But to me, as you kind of mentioned, the human is capable of so much, and I've lived a journey where I've been pushed, I've been tested, I've had to really sit down with myself and put in the work to be able to become, this person that I'm proud of every day, and the person that I know what my mission is. And I know that if I have a bad day, it's okay. Don't let that tear me down, recalibrate and then keep moving forward. So as I speak on that a little bit, my favorite thing that's helped me, start my own coaching practice, 3060 coaching, where we focus on, the mindset, the behavior, the everything that goes in to actually making changes. I told you a little bit about this earlier, Adam, but my goal is to help offer individuals sustainable, long lasting results. And that comes from such a deeper point than some fad habit or some idea that you think you can do something, but you have to really have that spark inside of you to actually take on the challenge, or else we've all experienced it. I've had many things where I've started, given up after a little while. That's all part of it. But where my
Is that
focus
he-
comes in,
is hold on here.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that actually healthy to like give up on some type of things? In your opinion, I'm just curious because
yeah.
like this is really important, like or a really interesting topic because some people are not really like well, how you say it? Like entrepreneurial mindset is like never give up, basically do the
Mm-hmm.
hard thing even though it doesn't feel right. Is like this is like you growing up into the next version of yourself, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
what basically was sold to us pretty much, right? All the ways starting a business. So is it actually good to or like good to let it go certain things that you actually like just don't find a way that would be fulfilling, or like I'm just like trying to understand this.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I believe that there is a healthy point where you don't need to necessarily give up on something completely, but to have an understanding of where your alignment falls in that current stage of your life. Maybe it's not about taking on these three things at once. Maybe that's spreading
Mm.
you a little thin. It's stressing you out. It's affecting your capabilities to function to the caliber that you really want to. So I do think that there is a level of healthiness that comes with
Mm-hmm.
knowing when to put something on the back burner or knowing when to go full speed ahead. I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of it is, perfection, long term, scale, grow, exit. We see
Mm.
that a lot. But, something that one of my coaches has taught me over the course of the last couple of years is what he always says, it's progress over perfection. And I think
Ooh,
that
yeah, I love
I
it.
think that's a very healthy way for an individual to stay in tune with who they are, without letting that big picture focus,
Yeah,
tear
I
them
see.
apart along the way. So,
Mm,
there's a fine line between starting and giving up, like time and time again, amidst starting, growing, reanalyzing, pivoting, then moving forward. So, to my perspective at least, definitely falls that there is a healthy point with taking some of your attention off certain projects if that means you can become more aligned with what you really want to work on.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. um I took it out from the main question that was there. So if you want, like, finish the introduction a little bit, and then we can jump into more, more type of topics, because like I was just really curious, because when you said, and usually when I do not ask right away, I just forget about it.
Yeah, definitely,
So I
definitely.
rather to ask. So yeah, so basically, I know that you are focusing right now on this type of, like, the performance coaching and all of, like, about the mindset a lot. But from what I've heard before we jump into interview, like, you had already like two businesses running, and this is like third one, right? So I
Hmm.
would love to actually hear, and probably like it's gonna basically continue the conversation that we had at the beginning. So when it comes to, like, what was the starting point for you? Well, like, when did you realize that, oh my gosh, okay, this whole system is basically completely messed up. It literally, like, just creates slaves, kind of thing. Like, I'm going to be completely open. Um, so, and like, what actually, like, what it cost you to, like, cause the realization that that this is not the way that you want to follow.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. So as I kind of was speaking earlier, so my goals, growing up, I really didn't have like long-term focus, like, oh, I'm going to be a businessman in the entrepreneurial world. I really didn't know that. All of that I knew is that I wanted to get out there and see what life had to offer to help me create my path. How would I know who I want to be and where I want to be and how I want to be it without
Mm,
even knowing what's out there? So that's definitely something that's always led me, living, learning, and growing. That's my life motto. As long as I'm always doing those three things, I can confidently say that I will have a sense of peace within myself because I know I'm pursuing a open mindset, a growth for
yeah.
or a room for more abundance and growth and opportunity. That's some of my favorite things. So segueing off that a little bit, then in college, random roommates with one of my now very good friends and business partners for all three ventures. That was just, circumstance if you believe in it, or you believe that there's a certain reason that people come into your lives, places come into your lives, and
Yeah.
things come into your life. So at that moment, that's when we started our first venture. We were screen printing and embroidering t-shirts in my buddy's apartment back as sophomores at college. And that gave me a taste a little bit early on, I guess you could say, and it's all relative, but I didn't graduate and then go look for a job. We
Right.
had a company started halfway through college. We grew that, the next 5 years out of college and ended up exiting that company back in 2024. And 2 years before we exited that company, we had already started company number two. So
Okay.
that definitely became natural and it felt good to be able to have control over who I want to be in my workspace. You
How did
know,
that idea even came up to, like, yeah, we're gonna start printing basically company for t-shirts and different type of probably clothes. How did that even become a thing, like, for you? Like, how, like, there is multiple different ways how you can actually, like, start a business or do something. So, like, and especially, like, okay, that's a roommate also, like, what's the connection? Give us a little bit more about,
yeah,
like, how did
yeah,
actually happen. Yeah.
yeah. It's actually kind of a unique story. So this was back, I believe it was either 2016. I believe it was fall of 2016, and it was around the time that this was news. It kind of went viral online. Harambe the gorilla got shot in the Cincinnati Zoo. And my buddy slash business partner, he's like, let's throw a bar crawl in honor of Harambe. And it was RIP Harambe
That's
bar crawl.
interesting. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And we pre-sold something like 1,500 shirts. It was this monster bash. We profited a good chunk of money. And then that's where we saw the opportunity. We're like, okay, well, look, we're at a big university with tons of clubs, organizations, groups, events, everything of that sort. If we just saw success with this one that we just threw because we thought it'd be fun, and it actually found success. So that's where that idea started. And with the money that we made from the bar crawl, that's where we bought our first screen printing press, to where we ended up doing the screen printing in my buddy's college apartment.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
Because like like the most successful business is usually being created by multiple people, right? Well, like the whole myth of like, building your business on your own and be like, this whole boring and like uncomfortable process it has to be. But in your experience, it actually wasn't a thing. It was different experience completely, right? You basically enjoyed it since like starting the first company, and like you literally like I'm just curious, like have you had already like some type of like experience in like how to sell this type of products, or like how did you came up with that? Like have you been just like searching around on the internet to figuring out those things, or what was the process actually to finding out?
I mean, I'll tell you what, I think a lot of the credit goes to, two other people that were involved at the beginning. They were kind of like the business minded entrepreneurs for sure. I was kind
Yeah.
of over here like learning a lot along their ways, or along
Interesting.
their experience. So I learned a lot from them, but they, pardon me, they definitely had the ability to understand, sales, marketing, how we could target certain groups, how we can run certain campaigns, how we could structure our offerings to make them more, you know, what's the word? I don't know, enjoyed by the
Yeah, yeah,
potential
yeah, yeah.
client. So I will give the credit where credit is due. A lot of that did come from two other partners back then that really kind of spearheaded, okay, how can we take that? I mean, don't get me wrong, when we first started, it was just a hobby company. We didn't know what we were doing, we didn't know what it would be, and we were just kind of figuring things out as we went along. But um, kind of to your point a little bit, it was a team. There were three
Yeah.
of us, and we were eager and we were young, and we really were seeing everything that we could do together. The unique things that each one of us brought to the
Mm,
situation really helped shape it into what it became, because that's three different perspectives, three different like lenses of problem
mm.
solving instead of just one. And I think there's a beauty in both. I think there's different types of companies that make more sense, where it's one person just grinding it out, putting in the work, figuring it out, and making something happen. But then there's ones that, like, the screen printing and embroidery company for us, where it really was nice and made sense, and it was a breath of fresh air, if you will, that we knew that we had three different, driven individuals working to
Right.
create it into something.
I love to actually like just bring up in here a little bit because I believe, well, I don't just believe, but I know pretty certainly that businesses, if you want to build a really, really, really successful business and go over like million to 10 million and even more, I don't think that you will not build it in 1%. Like, not a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like if you see like the most successful businesses that as I mentioned, they've been always a team.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to find people who are smarter than you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you
Yep.
agree on that? Like I'm just like literally, what is your thoughts on that? Because I would love to like, is that the thing that do you see the same way, or is there something that you would challenge me on actually?
You know what? I think when it comes to that topic, I mean, just from like research, things that I've figured out, books that I've read, people that I've listened to, successful entrepreneurs, one thing that I've seen to be a common theme when they ask, what's been a leading factor for their success, or who's helped them build the things that they build, and
Yeah.
they're like, I found and built a team that knew how to do it.
Mm.
I couldn't do it, all by myself, but I found the people who were smarter than me, better at
Smarter than you, yeah.
these niche operational standpoints for the company. And by building a team of high functioning individuals, that's what can allow you to scale something from small, or, however, whatever size, to even bigger, because how are
Yeah.
you going to do that on yourself? There's so many moving pieces, as
So many, right.
that go into any given operation, whether it's, a
Yeah.
profitable company, or a side hustle hobby that you're doing, there's a lot of
Yeah.
pieces to make it sustainable and to keep up the consistency to be able to stay on top of it day after day, week after week. So I definitely believe that the power of a high functioning, good, structured team, that could make a light and day difference with where you're able to take that company.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. This is really great because like it's different if you're trying to basically like, if you're providing services basically, and if, for example, starting a business like that, it's
Mm-hmm.
not, but you're not owning business. Like, be completely
Mm-hmm.
real, you're not owning business. You
Mm-hmm.
literally, you are owning a better paying kind of job that where basically it's not as scalable as it is, as most people think, to literally deliver services, unless you're having like everything automated, and then you have a team basically that helping you out like with services. But the service is actually 78% of the market, like in US, like literally 78% of people running service-based businesses, which is really interesting. But yeah, anyway, to back to your, back to the conversation about basically you figuring out and then basically exiting the first business. Then the second business was, I completely forget what was the second business. Can you give us a little bit of context about that business, and what was like the biggest thing that you've learned from the second business that you actually like led you to shift into like being a coach and so on? So I'm just really interested in that to hear, because like that's a really different variety of businesses, you know what I mean? So I'm just
Yeah.
like really curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, I agree, and I think that if I look back at all three different businesses now, I'm like, man, we started here, then jumped here, now we're way over here, you know. But it's the little operational lessons learned along the way that I think help us grow every time. But company number two was, at least at this point, I was a little bit older. I think that's where a lot of the harder landing lessons were learned, and a lot of that came from the struggles that we faced in company number two. So company number two, we basically focused on managing brands, individuals online, the social media type space, helping facilitate the best experience, the best deals for, like I said, brand deals, partnerships, everything of that sort. So, um, a lot, it's very different than printing t-shirts and embroidering hats, but it kind of got us into this new realm, and a lot of great connections made along the way. And like I was saying, some of the best lessons came from the challenges that we faced, and a lot of the challenges came in the latter half of the lifespan of that company. We still have it. I mean, the company, it's solid, to this day, but there were a lot of roadblocks, things that we thought we had figured out, marketing strategies that we definitely used and that were great and that worked. Then boom, one day they don't work. Okay, so that was a big issue. To team members, team members that we had. I mean, I spoke a little bit earlier on the importance that I believe that a strong, powerful team can, how that can affect the company. We had issues with like one division of the team, and then we were not getting everything, and then boom, kind of like our marketing, and then the lack of control of the team kind of all hit at once, and that took a really big hit on kind of what we were doing. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a huge learning experience. I was in my late 20s at that point. Again, just worked for myself basically up to this point and figuring it out. One of the biggest things when you're working for yourself is that when you run into an issue, there's no one to really run to ask what to do. It's up to the individual. It's up to the individual, and that's one of the that's why the entrepreneurial life isn't cut out for everybody. It's just simply not, because everybody looks at the good signs. Say, I make my own schedule. I pay myself what I want. Those things are all good and fun, but
Yeah.
when those days hit where you got a monster problem that you need to solve in 7 days, and you just got to sit down with either yourself or one of your partners and figure it out. That's where the really real growth comes in, because getting through those moments are invaluable with what they've taught me to be able to now take as we segue into company number three, and the skill set that we've learned that are allowing us to, as we build company number three, we're like, oh, remember we did that on company number two and look where it got us. So let's really take that into consideration as we build systems, processes, and just the overall structure of how we're going to kind of carry out company number three now.
This is really interesting. Okay, so basically every piece of the business basically help you to become like this type of like better version of yourself, like when it comes to understanding the business better and so on. Was there like some type of mindset struggles that you had to like go through specifically, like, during the first phase of the business, like first business and then the second business, and how they differentiate between each other, if that's a good, something to
Yeah,
talk about. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I mean, I didn't go to school for business or finance or entrepreneurial leadership. That's not what I went for. So I was kind of learning along the way. And there were times, when okay, now all of a sudden we transform from our little hobby company, company number one, turn small business, turn us able to sell it. A lot was learned there, but okay, boom, then we build this other thing, and it's bigger, faster paced. And there were times where I'm like, who am I really in this company?
Mm,
Do it, you could correlate it to like the imposter syndrome type feeling, like, do I
okay.
belong here doing these things when, am I experienced enough? But the mindset that comes with that, kind of like we were talking about at the beginning, the individual truthfully has every opportunity to become whoever they want to become,
Mm-hmm.
and when we might start feeling some sort of maybe an imposter syndrome, or am I qualified for this, am I not qualified for this, we have every tool at our disposal, especially with the internet, with podcasts, with even AI to this
Yeah.
day. We can
Mm-hmm.
truthfully take the steps to becoming whoever we want to be. But to speak on that, the mindset needed to do that, it's got to kind of be an all in or an all out. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
committed if you actually want to not change your identity, because I didn't want to change who I was by any means. I wanted to progress who I was.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy with who I was up until that point, and I was thankful, and I was very, pleased with the individual that I had become. But I'm like, okay, well, if I want to do the damn thing, and keep growing and moving on and moving forward, I have to fully commit to wanting to become this new person. And that's kind of the mindset that I carry to this day with every single thing that I experience and that challenges me. I know, like I said, live, learn, grow. That's my motto right there. So I'm committed to that, so that when something comes up, I don't really have to sit and waste too much time like, okay, do I want to take this on? Am I gonna do it? Do I know how to do it? It's more along the lines of, I choose yes or no, I want to take this on. Then I have the systems and processes in place that I know I can carry out as an individual. So having that self trust in myself and proving it time and time again. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I've struggled, I've failed, I've gone through all of these things, but at the end of the day, the core of my subconscious knows that you have proved this to yourself before, and that you do have what it takes to continue to carry on, to learn a new skill, to understand a confusing, concept, anything along those lines. But I definitely think that stems from an individual having the awareness of how bad they want to go into something, versus if it's just, a maybe. If it's a maybe, if they're like pre-contemplating something, they're like, maybe I'll do it. I kind of want to do it. I think I want to do it. But until you commit to action, you're never going to fully, I feel like, take those steps needed,
Mm-hmm.
because you want to take the hard steps. I mean, change of any sort, it's a complicated, thing to begin with. Some people deal with it better than others, but again, it's that focus and consistency that can actually help take an individual from where they're at to where they want to be. Or along the way, they might figure out a new path, but that's it. If you're progressing forward and you have that mindset where you want to take on bigger things, learn more, or just become more aligned, it's not always about bringing in more, it's about realigning what's already within. And that's a big step that I feel like a lot of people struggle with as well. And I feel like, to a
Yeah.
degree, I mean, that might be more important.
Mm. Have you seen that happen like mostly at the beginning of like becoming an entrepreneur, or is it like all the way, even though you are more successful, like with this type of like, if this type of issue, mindset issue basically that you've experienced?
I would say that there might be times where, the beginning of something new, things always are a little bit heavier. But at least for me, the idea that every day is a new challenge, and I want to
Mm,
open that because with challenge comes discomfort, and which discomfort comes opportunity for growth.
yeah.
So I feel like it's important that even though, like I said, things are can be more complicated when you first start to take on a new task, a new project, a new challenge. But I think that mindset is very important to keep in mind throughout the whole time of the venture. It could be a 10-year venture. And I think that it's important that the individual is conducting themselves in a way where every day they want to learn a little bit more, be a better leader, build a stronger team, solve a bigger issue. So I find that to be a very important characteristic for, the longevity of something becoming something great.
With all the success that you basically accomplished until this point, like what is the true like the driving source for you when it comes to like pushing forward all the time, like even though it's not feeling very like nice every time that
Mm-hmm.
you do something new, or it's difficult to go through that phase because like it's like every business has seasons, right? Even like our
Mm-hmm.
our life has a seasons, right? And then we have to go through those seasons and do the things that are necessary and keep going even though it doesn't really like you don't enjoying it and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So like what is behind your success? Like what is the true driving source for you?
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And even I'll define my success through a completely internal level of judgment. I'm not judging success of a company because there's been some success, there's been some failure. It's not like I have this mound of gold that I'm sitting on. I mean, my true success and how I measure it is truthfully my internal. And I feel like that's what's helped lead me to like now having became a behavioral performance coach and to want to help other people, develop and be able to create sustainable, long lasting results for themselves.
Yep.
It's all focused around my internal. To
Mm,
me, there's two kind of worlds we live in. We have the internal world, which is where we live with ourselves, and we have the
mm,
external world, which is basically a perception of every single thing that goes on around us. So I've always put a lot of focus on my internal. I sit with certain feelings and emotions, or I'll go through something and I'll actually do the work internally to make sure that I have a grasp and understanding of why something was the way it was or why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, so that I can then move forward and be an even better me in the external world around me, if that makes sense. So my
yeah,
my
yeah, yeah. Okay.
my judgment of success is all about, how true am I being to myself? How aligned am I being with the person that I want to continue to become? And, just identifying anything along the way that is worth identifying. I don't like brushing things off. If
Hmm.
something affects me, internally, I'm not looking to, push it down and forget about it, because that's going
Hmm.
to take away from my processing ability to continue to grow as a person. So
Hmm.
by finding success with the way that I have, I give a lot of credit to doing the internal work and being able to understand yourself, know why you are, know how you are, because once you have these things clearly mapped out in front of you, you save up a lot of mental capacity when you're going through something, then trying to figure out, well, how would this affect me? How does this affect me? If I want to be like this, I want to be like that. Well, I don't know if there's a million thoughts going on at any given moment. That don't quote me on that number, but that's what it feels like, right? So by having these clear systems and processes in place, that's what's really allowed me to, I feel like, become successful, the way that I look at success.
Interesting. Okay. Um, and like when it comes to starting the third business, what was the thing that led you to to become basically a performance behavioral performance coach? Um, because like as we mentioned before, like starting a printing company and then do another basically business, and then like how why did you even like why was it even an option like becoming
Mm-hmm.
a basically a coach, because like it's very different type of industry even from
Mm-hmm.
those that you have experienced, And now, like, was there something behind that you've experienced yourself that you wanted to help people with or something? I'm just really curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that question because I think, for myself, how it all came to be. I mean, I love it. And, when I look back on it, it's one of those things that just makes sense, when I kind of reflect on it. So I think we were maybe mid 2025. It
Uh-huh.
got to a point where, I felt like I was lacking a little bit of purpose in my life. I was lacking purpose. I was lacking fulfillment. I wanted to be challenged more. Excuse me. And I had to figure out something that I wanted to do that could kind of help fill that gap. And I don't know where I read it, but I saw this Venn diagram. It was like a three-circled Venn diagram. It's similar to like the Japanese Ikigai. I don't know if you've ever read that book or have that understanding, but this
No,
three-sided
no, I don't actually. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's all about like lining up. I think there's like these seven circled Venn diagram, and when they all come
Okay.
together, you can live a joyful, long, happy life.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know it
Okay.
all for sure, but I do know that the book it's called Ikigai. It's based around this
Mhm.
Japanese understanding of purpose and longevity and fulfillment. So I saw it was kind of a miniature one, and it was like how to find your purpose. And I was
Mhm.
like, well, this is kind of strange. I'm sitting right here trying to find my purpose. And the Venn diagram was the intertwine, the interconnectedness of what you're good at, what you love to do, and the change you want to see in the world.
Mm.
Okay, so
Mhm.
I grabbed out my notebook and I wrote it down and I'm like, okay, what do I love to do? I'm like, I love, interacting with other people, hearing their stories, connecting with them, learning as much as I can. What do I like to do? I mean, don't get me wrong, I like to talk. Those two kind of blend. I like to talk. I love making new connections and experiences and things of that sort. So I'm like, okay, those two, they kind of blend, but that's what I love and that's what I like and that's what I'm good at. And then the other one was the change you want to see in the world. And that's the one where I'm like, you know what? Like I mixed in with loving connecting, loving sharing with people, love being good at those things, the change I wanted to see truthfully was I want other people or I want to help other people see the light that already shines within themselves. Because
Mhm.
I brought it up a little bit earlier and we live in a distracted world and it's fast paced and it's like instead of dealing with the problem, let me go scroll or over here, boom, let me be distracted by that.
Yeah.
So I get that there's very good reasoning for a lot of individuals that have that light that already shines, but it might be a little shadowed right now, you know, because of there's there's a lot going on to live in 2026 and to be in your 20s right now, probably even in your 30s as well. It's a lot different than what a lot of our parents experienced,
Oh,
50, 60 years ago.
so
You
true.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so with that, I'm like, okay, I kind of have an idea of, what I'm aiming for. I have a baseline understanding of what I want my purpose to be or of what my purpose is. And now I just kind of need to find where what I can do to kind of bring that purpose into something that I can actually offer. And that's when the life coaching opportunity crossed my plate as well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this seems to just make 100% sense. It aligns with all of this work that I've done personally to get myself to the place that I am. And it aligns with my idea of this purpose based off this Venn diagram that I just filled out. And then, on top of that, me choosing to take the behavioral performance route, that just makes the most sense to me. I mean, there's 100 different, maybe not a million, thousands of different types of coaches focusing on different niches out there. But the one I'm most passionate about, truthfully, is, the behavioral performance, the mindset,
Mm.
the habit building, the limiting belief, observational standpoint of the whole entire thing. And that is definitely where I wanted, and I saw an opportunity. I'm like, I mean, this is another one of those points. Going into a new thing, it's a change, it's a challenge. How do I get through it mentally? And I'm like, okay, what do I have to offer if I want to go into this? And you just got to have that trust in yourself, truthfully, and again, just actually believe that this person that you are can make a change. And that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted it to be mixed in with interacting with other people because I love doing that. I love meeting new people. I love hearing other people's experiences and perspectives and coaching isn't so much about giving advice and telling other people how to live, but it's about having a great conversation and having, the two of you either separately or somewhat together in the co-creative relationship, just, heighten a sense of perspective or awareness on one simple topic that a client might bring to the session. So all of those things have kind of led me to becoming this coach that I am today. And like truthfully, when I sit here now, I couldn't be happier that everything has led up to me falling into where I am right now.
When you become this type of person that you like literally, believe in yourself and so on, like how did you find a way to it actually? Like if that makes sense, this type of question. I'm trying to like, because there is lots of people that literally like having struggled to find the trust in themselves that they are good enough and so on. And like when you speak, it seems like that you found it really in really young age. And that led to you because like when most of the businesses starts is most of the time because you don't have any results and everything like they're picking up your expertise and so on. And most of the time when you are selling basically and when you're getting on the calls, it's literally you against you, pretty much. You literally is you are the bottleneck because like your skills and your trust in yourself that you can accomplish something, you can actually like solve this issue for somebody or help them to, do certain things is basically the thing that stops you from being successful. So like when it comes to you finding your, the power of yourself, like being, so confident in yourself, how did you find it? Or like do you have even the answer to that question? I'm just like really curious.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said a couple things there. To this day, I still have my days where, I'm maybe prepping to jump on a call and that great confidence is not there. And
Yeah.
that's something we're all gonna,
Uh,
you know, and
it is that, yeah.
that's just how it goes. And I have two little, call them quotes if you will, but two little standpoints um that help me get through that. One, you won't get confidence without courage.
Mm,
And that leads into this other one that my personal coach, we were on a call, I don't know, within the last month or two, and he said this thing to me about a conversation he was having with somebody, and it was do it afraid. Just do it if you're afraid. I mean, but you want it to happen. Well, confidence isn't just going to show up. Do it afraid. Have the courage to do it.
mm-hmm.
Then that's where confidence is built. And those little moments, I mean, that's how you build that self trust. You have to show yourself. It doesn't have to be these massive, monumental moments where you're tearing down your own walls and demolishing your limiting beliefs and going out there and proving it to yourself. It could be a very little thing. If you do struggle with confidence or to anything to a certain degree, or you're public speaking or you're shy to start a conversation, that doesn't mean you have to go out and have a 45-minute conversation with somebody you met at an entrepreneurial convention and you sparked up a business deal. That's not probably going to happen. It might if you really just do it afraid and you get out there and you tackle it, but it could be you could be in line for coffee at the cafe and you could just turn to the person behind you and state one little thing, start one little conversation, prove to yourself that okay, hey, I did that once, then you do it again, then you do it again, and you start knocking those dominoes. And that courage, that seeing yourself do it afraid, well, once you do it 100 times afraid, are you going to be afraid the 101st time? Probably not. So that is a good way that your confidence is going to be built. And that's just a small, metaphorical way to kind of speak on the whole thing. But that's really how it's all started. And at least for me, I mean, and again, I'm a big systems and processes guy. So when I have something that I'm going to start to do and see how it works, I want to build something that's repetitive and that I know works for myself. Because again, that frees up my mental capacity to not have to think too much about it. All I have to think is, oh, I have a system to do that. Then once you do it enough, your subconscious works through these systems and processes for all of whatever little avenue of your life you and drill it into. But
why why is it so important to have like you said that you are the system type of guy, like everything having like system in place and so on. Why have Was it this way always, like since you started, or like was it like there's some type of like moment that you actually like, oh my gosh, like this way is so much simpler and like easy to actually have the success with, or like how did you find it out that this is like the better way for you?
Definitely don't think I process this way forever. I don't think I do. I think that the older that I've gotten, the more valuable just time has become to me.
Like older,
And
okay, how old are you?
right,
Just
right now I'm 29. I'm 29,
okay, bro, like dude, like, what are you talking about?
but no, truthfully, so I'd say over the course of the last 5 years, I kind of vamped up the way that I was trying to operate. And, a lot of that came with a lot of the things we've talked about mindset, about, attacking new things in this sense, about building courage this way. But when I actually started to see, I'll call it the payoff, the benefit of having proven systems, and I'm not saying scientifically proven. You just got to prove them to work for yourself. And your system, there's no judgment on what you want one of your systems to be. Whether it's your morning routine, you do it every day, it works out perfect, it gets you up, you're sharp, you're ready to start the day. Okay, that could be a repeatable system that could take or that could save you time, because then it's not every day. I'm waking up and it's like, okay, well, I'll go brush my teeth. Okay, well, do I want to make tea? Do I want to go get coffee? Do I want to go to the gym? Should I eat breakfast first? Once that system's in place, it's like, okay, I wake up, I brush my teeth, protein shake, gym, coffee, home, work. How much time does that save me in the morning when I'm not, spending at least allocated pieces in between each
Mm,
option? And I think that's what it does. It helps eliminate too many options, and you're able to function. And normally, when you're building a system or process, I believe that you want it to build one that's going to positively benefit you.
oh sure, yeah.
So when you're eliminating all of these external options and you have your core system that's going to allow you to function and in a way that is pushing you to become this version of yourself that and that you make yourself proud. Again, I mean, to me, it helps save time. It helps, limit, or it helps with your mental capacity with all the things that you could think about doing, or you could just do it, and you know how to do it because you've built a way that works. And I'm not saying that every single thing that I do, I function off systems and processes, and there's always X liar days. There's days I wake up that I lock in the night before, I'm ready to go. Something happens first thing in the morning, throws a wrench in my whole system, but that, so then you readjust, but then still having that system allows me to know where to jump back in and where to pick up. And again, it's saving you time. You don't have to sit there and wonder about what the next best thing to do is. Well,
Mm,
you know what the next best thing is for you to become this individual that carries on a path and a life that makes you happy, proud, and driven every day. You know what you have to do. So to me, that's why I try to always at least make a system that I know works for me for various amount of different things. But I just feel like it really helps me be as productive as I can.
I see. Okay, when it comes to the mindset, basically, how much you believe that like mindset is like literally a root to everything when it comes to like personal success and everything, like when it comes to like succeeding in your life, it doesn't matter if it is just in a business, but it can be in every area of your life, right? So how big of an impact it has to to be able to like manage yourself or be aligned with what like to like towards the success that you're trying to go for. And what would you recommend, for example, somebody that is like literally trying to like get through some basically crap in their life, that they are like not consistent or something like that, stopping them, like either it can be like limiting beliefs about themselves or their life, or where their background, that they are coming from some poor
Hmm.
background, for example, and so on. Like what would be, because I don't know what is your background. Did you like is anybody from your family being like entrepreneurial driven people or like person or something like that, or like so I'm just like to understand better.
I'd say that I'm the first entrepreneurial minded person
Okay,
in my family. My
cool.
dad was a tradesman for many years. My mom was a school teacher.
Right.
My big brother lives out in California, works on the lake. Little sister, she's the closest to also following in the entrepreneurial footsteps as well.
Okay.
But to your question about mindset, I definitely think that it. What do I want to say here? Can you repeat what your question about mindset was? What did that start with? Oh, no, I got you. Someone that is maybe having a background or wanting to make these changes and everything like that, and the importance of
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah.
I think that mindset is everything. I think that the
Mm.
things that we tell ourselves repeatedly, day in and day out, that's mindset. That's shaping who we're becoming. And I
Mm.
get that everybody is in a different scenario in life. Some people good, some people bad, happy, sad, everywhere across the spectrum. And there's all of these different backgrounds for where people are at. But that doesn't take away that there are plenty of stories out there about these individuals that might be living this life that is to the outside might seem like, oh my gosh, they have to just be miserable, but they just have this personality and this energy that they give off that is just abundant and happy, even though their circumstance doesn't seem you know exactly maybe one that the individual might like.
Yeah.
And again, I think that is all based around mindset, the subconscious mind, the conscious mind. The self-talk that we give ourselves every single day is such an important tool that everybody should be trying to master, because the only person that you'll spend the rest of your life with is yourself. So don't you want to
Mm.
make sure that your relationship with that person is as strong as possible so that you can know you could trust yourself. You can know that, okay, this is how I take on a new challenge. All of that I do think comes from a deeper sense of understanding yourself, putting in the time. And with that being said, okay, somebody that might be not able to accomplish something, they keep starting over and they really wish, but they don't figure out how. If you're trying to accomplish it on your own, I think that it starts with sitting down and figuring out what the problem is,
Mm.
actually doing the work, mapping it out. If you get in your car with no, if you get in your car and there's no destination put in the GPS, where are you going? Where are you going? And that's a big thing with a lot of people, and like how we function is we just think that we have these plans and understandings and problems figured out in our head. But then when we're in this distracted world and there's so many things that come up, it's a lot harder to get to that destination just based off thought. But when
Have
you
you
have
have
a
you s- yeah, have you seen lots of people living this way actually, like, not having presetted goals or something, like they don't even know where they are going, like in your experience?
yes, I have friends that are this way, and I think that there's also a few different levels. There is the driven individual that has goals that doesn't need to sit and map it all out.
Mm.
There are people that function like that, but then there's the people that they have this vision of this version of themselves that they want to become, and they're not able to really get there because
Well,
they
they
keep.
are already on a really good spot if they even have the vision who they want to become, because like most of the people, they don't even know what they want in their life. They don't
Yeah,
know even, and when we are talking about people who are literally like trying to find a job literally in like freaking McDonald's or something that they don't even like, and they are having degrees, for example, even, and they don't know what to do freaking with their life, right?
yeah, yeah. No, you're 100% right. Step one is getting an idea of where you might want to go. Then step two is actually mapping it out. Then that's where you can work with systems and processes that come into play, that how you're going to take this step, you're going to do it this way, this step, do it this way. And all of those things, it starts with awareness. I mean,
Mm.
100%. Then you have to get into the whole stabilization of everything with understanding what to do with that awareness and actually turning it into something. And then once you have that part of the game plan, that's where you have to start proving to yourself, trusting yourself, rebuilding this trust that shows that, okay, not only do I know where I want to go, I have clear awareness, I have an understanding of what to do with that awareness. This is how I'm going to start proving to myself that I can get there. And you, like I said earlier, you start small so that these tiny little proving moments to yourself can domino effect to where, okay, usually, I'll do 14 really good days, one bad day, boom, I'll start back over.
Mm.
But if you kind of build in this sort of progression, you'll know what to do when that 15th bad day comes. You don't start all the way back from day one. You might just fall down, reanalyze, know where to go when you get back up, and then boom, you can carry on with that progress that you've already made. It's about having a clear understanding of where you want to go, and then using tools along the way to help yourself get there.
If you would lose pretty much everything what you built so far, and you would literally like had to start again, and you would have like, for example, let's say 30 days, what would be your like main focus to get back into positive cash flow and get money going?
My first step to be in that sense, I mean, one, it would be map out a plan. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, and it can even be a rough sketch. Day one, you're spending the whole day mapping out an idea. Okay, maybe a couple ideas, just a big brainstorming day of what you could do. Day two, I think you want to go out there and make some connections and see who you can
Mm.
interact with. Then with that, I mean that would be the start of my plan. Figure something out, have some destination in mind, then go out, make some connections, and help yourself again piece together that process with the help of other people. If you are able to make these connections to see where that might continue to grow, because you meet one person that might open a door, you meet another person that might open five doors, and I think that having help along the way, especially if you're starting back from zero, with having a clear plan, sharing that plan with somebody that might be able to help, that's a very positive way to at least get a jump start, early. And it's early on, it's not sitting around, one of the biggest things that definitely something that I had to overcome as well, observing versus doing. And again, this
Mhm.
is kind of that progression over perfection. You can sit and make the best plan in the world. It could be the start to finish. Anybody's desk you put it on would love it. But if it takes you that whole 30-day mark to put that plan together, somebody at day two with a quarter of that plan and the ambition to get out there is probably going to end up ahead of you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, from that was from from basically the tactic side. How would you what would you be working on, or what that like with what type of angle with your mindset you would you if you would lose everything basically and you would try to get back into cash flow positive basically and making money, how would you deal with the mindset? What would you be focusing on the most, or what type of like how would you take it from the mindset side that would like support you the growth basically and getting back to the the cash flow positive basically?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, trying to, dissect the most important angles of the mindset. And if you kind of had to start from square one, I think a very positive place to start if you're really trying to get into a sound mindset is focus on your self-talk. Actually focus on it. Have notes
Mm.
that and write down how many days your self-talk goes negative. How many times are you doubting yourself, telling yourself made up stories that are going to just set you back? Focus on that, because if you can train your self-talk to at least support yourself, to let you know that I'm getting out there, that man, you got what it takes. Even if you don't, you think you do, and you're going to go out there and make it happen. So that self-talk is such a baseline for all of the other angles that might fall into the mindset category. And I think that putting a deep focus on actually trying to understand the patterns of your normal self-talk, that's a fantastic way to get an idea of, okay, I might be here, I want to go here, and it's very clear right now on how I can at least mentally get myself there.
I love it. Okay. From the side of your personal life and your business life right now, what do you see yourself doing like into the future? Like where are you trying to get into, like with with your personal side and business side basically, let's say like uh, 1 to 3 years from
Yeah, for the personal side and the business side, right now with my coaching and everything of that sort, I really enjoy how it blends my personal side with my professional side,
now? Right.
because every conversation I have, I look at it from the angle of being a coach. I try not to do it too much with like friends and things like that. They're like, Al, you got to
Yeah.
relax, dude. Just have a conversation. But I mean, every conversation I have is further developing my skills as a coach. So
Yeah.
with that being said, I would love to continue to grow my coaching practice, and I would love to be able to help reach as many people as I can, again, to help
Mm.
share that there are ways out there for everybody to see that light that shines within themselves. And within the next 1 to 3 years, I hope that, I'm doing even bigger and better things, events, webinars, podcasts, as many things as I can to truthfully, be seen by as many people as I can, and not be seen because I want people to see me, be seen by trying to share, the message I want to share with as
Yep.
many individuals as I can.
Really cool. So, are you doing some type of webinars or something like that where can people can find you, to and this conversation, like where people can go to find you and connect with you to.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, always feel free to connect on LinkedIn, Alex Vaughn-Low. It's down there on the screen. You can find me on Instagram as well, Alex VLOW underscore. That's where I'm at as well, sharing just life, behavioral performance tips, and everything in between. So, check me out there for sure. And again, always feel free to reach out. And I'm always looking to, like I just said, interact, work with more clients. I have programs and things of that sort that really can help an individual change from somebody that starts over all the time to having these systems and processes set up to help them sustain long lasting results.
Love it. And before we wrap up, I have three rapid fires.
Okay.
First one is one book that literally like changed the way you're looking at your life. What that book would be.
A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. It dissects
Mm,
the ego on a level. I try to
okay,
read it every year. It's a very complex understanding of the individual's ego, the internal, the external, all of it.
love
Changed
it.
my life after the first time I read it.
Very cool. When did you found it? Like, was it somewhere when you had some in the middle of the business growth and so on? Like, how did it help you actually? I'm just curious.
This was senior year of college is the first time that I read
Okay,
that book, and that further helped me dive into the understanding of who we are, even breaking that down, who our ego is versus who I
I
am,
see.
finding separation, finding the togetherness, and
That's a human.
understanding
Okay,
who's actually in
yeah,
control, and how we can become us amidst all of these other internal thoughts,
love
feelings,
it,
emotions. Yeah.
love it. Okay. Uh, if you would have the opportunity to delete an advice that doesn't serve people on the internet, what that would be?
To delete
An
what?
advice, any advice that doesn't serve people on the internet, what that would be?
To delete any advice.
Hmm.
Gosh, a lie or advice. I think that when people say that passion is enough, for entrepreneurs, I think that passion is
It's
important, but
pretty fitting into the conversation in here. So yeah, this is really yeah, I love it.
yeah, yeah, passion's great and you need to have it, but passion enough for a founder won't get you there.
Yeah, love it. And if this would be your last interview you would ever done, what would be the message that you love to leave behind you?
You know what? I think I'll tie it all up with this. I believe that every individual out there has so many great things inside of them. And by finding a way to actually sit with them, map them out, figure out what works, ask yourself the real questions, you will see that you already are the person you want to become. You just need to believe it yourself.
Hmm, love it. Well, thank you so much, brother. That was a great conversation. I got a lot out of it, and I believe that a lot of people is going to enjoy this chat. Um, and for everybody who's listening, we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye
Thank you
for
so
now.
much, Adam.